The vastness of space stretched endlessly before Captain Marcus Stone as he stood on the bridge of the exploration vessel. Horizon's Edge. 3 years into a deep space mapping mission, routine had become his closest companion. That changed when the communication array crackled to life with an alien transmission. The voice that emerged was unlike anything in the Universal Translator's database. It carried desperation, fear, and something else that transcended species barriers. Love. Maternal love. Human vessel, please respond. My name is Valania of Zarian. I am transmitting from the third planet in this system. My world is dying, and my children. My children will perish unless someone helps us. Marcus exchanged glances with his communications officer. First contact protocols demanded caution, but something in that voice made him hesitate to follow standard procedure. This is Captain Marcus Stone of the Horizon's Edge. What is your situation? The response came with visual transmission. The screen flickered to reveal a being of ethereal beauty. Valenia possessed features that were almost human, yet distinctly alien. Her skin held a subtle luminescence, and her eyes, large and expressive, shimmered with unshed tears. Behind her, Marcus could see 3 smaller figures huddled together. Captain Stone, my planet's core is collapsing. Our sun grows weaker each day. We have perhaps 72 hours before our atmosphere becomes unbreathable. I have 3 children, and our evacuation ships were destroyed in the initial catastrophe. I will pay any price you ask, give you anything you desire. If you will take my children to safety. Marcus felt his heart clench at the raw emotion in her voice. Protocol dictated he should report this to Fleet Command and await orders. But looking at those 3 small alien children clinging to their mother, he found himself asking, what about you? If there is only room for my children, then so be it. They are my universe, Captain Stone. Without them, I have no reason to exist anyway. The bridge fell silent, except for the soft hum of ship systems. Marcus studied Valenia's face on the screen. Despite her alien features, her expression was universally recognizable. It was the look of a mother willing to sacrifice everything for her offspring. How many others are on your planet? He asked. Our city held 2 million souls before the disaster. Now, perhaps a few thousand survive in scattered settlements. But most will perish regardless. My children and I are in a research facility that has better shielding. We might survive long enough for rescue, but we cannot survive indefinitely. Marcus's science officer leaned forward. Captain, even at maximum warp, we're looking at a 50-hour journey to reach them. 22 hours to spare, if the aliens' calculations were correct. Marcus looked again at Valenia and her children. The youngest couldn't be more than what humans would consider 5 years old, pressed against their mother's side with large, frightened eyes. Valenia, I need you to understand something. My ship has a crew of 47. Adding 4 more passengers won't be a problem space-wise, but there could be complications with my government. Unauthorized rescue operations can result in severe punishment. Then why are you considering it? She asked, her voice soft but intense. Marcus found himself staring into her eyes through the screen. There was intelligence there, strength, and something else that made his pulse quicken. Because no parent should have to watch their children die when someone could prevent it. A single tear rolled down Valenia's luminescent cheek. Thank you, Captain. What payment do you require? We'll discuss that later. Right now, I need you to gather whatever supplies you have and prepare for extraction. Send me your precise coordinates. As the transmission ended, Marcus turned to his crew. He could see the mixture of admiration and concern in their faces. They all understood what he was risking. Sir, what about fleet regulations? His first officer asked. Marcus looked back at the now dark screen where Valenia's image had been moments before. Something about her had touched something deep within him. Something he thought he'd buried after years of solitary space exploration. Sometimes, the right thing to do isn't found in regulations, he said quietly. Set course for Zarian. Maximum warp. The impossible choice 1 to 6 hours into their desperate journey, Marcus found himself unable to sleep. He wandered the ship's corridors, finally ending up in his ready room, where he'd been maintaining regular contact with Valenia. Each conversation revealed more about the remarkable woman and her children. When her face appeared on the screen again, Marcus noticed she looked more exhausted than before. The subtle glow of her skin had dimmed, and there were dark circles under her eyes. "How are you holding up?" he asked. "The children are frightened, but brave. They ask many questions about humans, about your ship, about you." Valenia managed a weak smile. "They are curious, like their mother. Tell me about them." Valenia's expression brightened despite her fatigue. "Zora is my eldest, 14 in your years. She dreams of becoming a stellar engineer like her father was. Finn is 11 and fascinated by alien cultures. He has been studying human languages since we received your transmission. And little Kess, her voice caught. She is only 6, but she has the strongest spirit of us all. She told me this morning that she isn't afraid because the nice human captain is coming to save us." Marcus felt something twist in his chest. Their father? Lost when the first seismic waves hit the capital city. He died helping others evacuate. Valenia's voice was steady, but Marcus could see the pain in her eyes. "We were already separated, but he was a good man. A good father." Before Marcus could respond, an urgent beep interrupted them. His first officer's voice came over the comm. "Captain, priority transmission from Fleet Command." Marcus's blood ran cold. "I'll be right there." "Trouble?" Valenia asked, reading his expression. "Possibly. Maintain your position and stay ready for extraction." On the bridge, Admiral Torres's stern face filled the main screen. "Captain Stone, you are ordered to immediately cease your current unauthorized mission and report to Starbase 7 for disciplinary review. Admiral, with respect. There are lives at stake. Lives that are not your responsibility, Captain. Interfering in the natural evolution of alien worlds is strictly prohibited by the Prime Directive." Marcus felt his jaw clench. "This isn't about evolution, Admiral. It's about children who will die if we don't act. Your emotional attachment to this situation is clouding your judgment. Captain, you will comply with my orders immediately." The transmission ended, leaving the bridge in tense silence. Marcus's crew looked to him, awaiting orders. He thought of Valenia's face, of her children's frightened eyes, of little Kess, who believed the nice human captain would save them, sir. His first officer prompted. "Continue on course," Marcus said quietly. "Full speed." Later that evening, Marcus sat alone in his quarters when the door chimed. "Come." Chief Engineer Rita Park entered, carrying 2 cups of coffee. "Thought you might need this." "Thank you, Rita." Marcus accepted the cup gratefully. Rita settled into the chair across from him. "The crew is behind you, you know. What you're doing, it's right, even if it ends my career." "Even then," Rita studied him carefully. "This is about more than duty, isn't it?" Marcus was quiet for a long moment. "I've been thinking about that. There's something about her, Rita Valenia, I've never felt. Connected to someone I've barely spoken to. Sometimes the heart recognizes what the mind hasn't processed yet." That night, during his regular check-in with Valenia, she appeared more distressed than usual. "Captain, the atmospheric readings are worsening. We may have less time than calculated. We're pushing the engines beyond recommended parameters. We'll make it. And if you don't? What happens to my children?" Marcus leaned forward, his voice intense. "I won't let that happen, Valenia. I promise you." She studied his face through the screen. "Why are you doing this for us?" "Your admiral was correct about the risks to your career, because when I look at you, at your children, I see something worth fighting for. I see love that transcends species. Devotion that makes the universe meaningful again." Valenia's eyes widened at his words. "Marcus," she said softly, using his first name for the first time, "we're going to get you out of there, all of you. And then maybe we can figure out what comes next." A small smile crossed her lips, the first genuine one he'd seen. "I would like that very much." With 18 hours remaining, everything began to go wrong at once. The Horizon's Edge dropped out of warp as her main engine experienced a critical overload. In the engineering section, Rita worked frantically while Marcus paced the bridge like a caged animal. How long for repairs? he demanded. At least 6 hours, maybe 8. Rita's voice crackled over the cum. We pushed her too hard, Captain. Marcus closed his eyes, calculating. Even if they got back to warp immediately after repairs, they would arrive with perhaps 2 hours to spare. No room for error. When he contacted Valenia with the news, her composure finally cracked. My children, she whispered, and he could see tears flowing freely down her cheeks. Listen to me, Marcus said firmly. I am not giving up on you. Do you understand me? We're going to find a way. Through her tears, Valenia nodded. I believe you. The words hit Marcus harder than any declaration of love. Her faith in him, despite impossible odds, made him more determined than ever. 6 hours later, Rita's voice boomed triumphantly through the ship. Engines online, Captain, and I've managed to boost our efficiency by 12%. Rita, I could kiss you right now. Save it for the alien lady. Captain. Marcus felt heat rise in his cheeks, but there was no time for embarrassment. All hands prepare for maximum warp. The ship leaped forward with renewed vigor, eating up the distance between them and Zarian. Marcus spent the journey monitoring both their progress and Valenia's increasingly desperate situation. Ports. The atmosphere outside our facility is becoming toxic, she reported during one call. We've sealed ourselves in, but our air recycling system won't last much longer. 12 hours, Marcus told her. Hold on for 12 more hours, Marcus, Valenia said suddenly. If we don't survive this, I want you to know something. These past days, speaking with you, have reminded me that there is still beauty in the universe. Still hope. You've given me something precious in these dark hours. Marcus found himself leaning toward the screen. Valenia, when we get you out of there, I want to show you more than just hope. I want to show you what it's like to be cherished, to be valued for who you are, not just as a mother, but as a remarkable woman. She reached toward the screen as if she could touch him. I never expected to feel this way about someone I've never met in person. Sometimes, the heart doesn't need proximity to recognize its match. 8 hours out from Zarian, they received a transmission that made Marcus's blood run cold. It wasn't from Valenia. It was from 3 Galactic Confederation vessels that had somehow reached the system ahead of them. Captain Stone, says Admiral Vex of the GC Enforcement Division. You are ordered to stand down and return to Federation space immediately. The situation on Zarian is classified as a natural evolutionary event. No interference will be permitted. Marcus stared at the screen in disbelief. 3 massive warships blocked their path to Zarian. Behind them, barely visible in the distance, the dying planet continued its slow spiral toward catastrophe. Admiral, there are children down there who will die. That is not your concern, Captain. Marcus turned to his tactical officer. Can we get past them? Not likely, sir. They outgun us 3-1. For a moment, Marcus felt despair threatening to overwhelm him. Then he remembered little Kess's trusting face, Valenia's faith in him, and his own promise. Open a channel to all 3 ships. This is Captain Marcus Stone. I'm going to that planet to save 4 lives. If you want to stop me, you'll have to destroy my ship and kill my entire crew. Is your bureaucratic protocol worth 47 human lives? The channel remained silent for long, tense minutes. Finally, Admiral Vex's voice returned, filled with reluctant respect. You have 1 hour, Captain. After that, we cannot guarantee your safe passage. Marcus smiled grimly. 1 hour is all I need. Love in the darkness, though. Rescue operation began the moment the horizon's edge entered Zarian's atmosphere. The planet was a hellscape of toxic storms and seismic instability. But Marcus had located Valenia's facility in a relatively stable crater. As the shuttle touched down outside the research station, Marcus felt his heart racing. In minutes, he would finally meet the woman who had captured his thoughts and emotions across the vastness of space. The airlock hissed open, and Valenia stepped out carrying little Kess, followed by Zora and Finn, even through his environmental suit's visor. Marcus could see that she was more beautiful in person than any transmission had shown, but it was her eyes that stopped him cold. Large, expressive, and filled with a mixture of relief, gratitude, and something deeper, Marcus, she said, her voice slightly distorted by the translation unit. Valenia. He stepped forward and gently touched her arm. We need to hurry. The loading process took precious minutes. Valenia's children were wide-eyed with wonder and fear as they entered the human shuttle. Little Kes clung to her mother, but kept stealing glances at Marcus with curious eyes as they lifted off. The planet shuddered beneath them. Through the viewport, they could see the research facility collapsing in their wake. We barely made it, Finn said in surprisingly good English. The captain promised he would save us, Kes declared with absolute certainty. Nice human captains always keep their promises. Marcus met Valenia's eyes across the shuttle. Yes, they do. Back aboard the Horizon's Edge, Marcus assigned the family quarters in the guest section. As the ship jumped to warp, racing away from the Confederation vessels, he found himself standing outside Valenia's door, unsure why he'd come. When she opened it, she'd changed from her environmental suit into a flowing garment that seemed to shimmer with its own light. Her alien beauty was breathtaking, but it was her smile that made his pulse quicken. I wanted to thank you properly, she said, stepping aside to let him in. The children were asleep in the adjoining room, exhausted by their ordeal. Valenia led Marcus to a small sitting area where she'd prepared what looked like tea. This is a traditional drink of gratitude on my world, she explained, though I fear it may taste strange to human palate. Marcus accepted the cup and sipped. It was indeed unlike anything he'd tasted, but not unpleasant. It's perfect. They sat in comfortable silence for a moment before Valenia spoke again. I need to tell you something, Marcus. From the moment I heard your voice respond to my distress call, I felt something I thought had died with my world. Hope, but more than. Attraction. Connection. Is such a thing possible between our species? Marcus set down his cup and moved closer to her on the small couch. I've been wondering the same thing. What I feel for you. It's not just compassion or duty. It's deeper than that. Valenia reached out and touched his face with fingers that seemed to glow softly in the dim light. Your kindness saved my children's lives. But your words, your presence, they saved something in me I didn't even know needed saving. Marcus covered her hand with his own. Valenia, I know this is complicated. Different species, different worlds, uncertain futures, ... Sometimes. She said softly, the heart creates its own certainties. He leaned forward, and she met him halfway. Their kiss was gentle at first, tentative, an exploration of possibilities. But as she responded, pressing closer to him, it deepened into something more profound. Her lips were soft and warm, and she tasted like starlight and dreams. When they broke apart, both were breathing hard. The children, Valenia whispered, are sleeping soundly, Marcus finished. His voice husky. She smiled and took his hand, leading him toward her bedroom. Then perhaps we have time to explore what the universe has brought us. In the soft glow of the ship's night cycle, they came together with a passion that transcended species barriers. Valenia was both alien and achingly familiar. Her luminescent skin warm beneath his touch. Her responses unmistakably universal in their meaning. Later, as they lay entwined, Valenia traced patterns on his chest. What happens now, Marcus? Your government will not approve of what you've done. I don't know, he admitted. But whatever comes, we'll face it together if you want to. She raised her head to look at him. I want nothing more. 6 months later, Marcus stood in the garden of the human colony world of New Eden, watching Valenia teach her children to tend earth flowers. The sight never failed to fill him with contentment. The court-martial had been swift but fair. Marcus's actions had been deemed insubordinate but morally justified. He'd been stripped of his command but allowed to retire with honor. More importantly, he'd been granted custody sponsorship for Valenia and her children, making them legal refugees under human protection. Papa Marcus. Kes came running across the garden, her arms full of blue roses. She'd started calling him that 3 months ago, and each time it made his heart swell. Beautiful flowers. Little one, he said, scooping her up. Zora and Finn approached more sedately, both having adapted remarkably well to their new world. Zora was already enrolled in advanced engineering courses. While Finn had become fascinated with human literature, the Colony Council approved our application, Valenia said, joining them with dirt on her hands and joy in her eyes. Which application? Marcus asked, though he suspected he knew. For permanent citizenship. And ... double quotes. She smiled shyly. For marriage registry. Marcus set Kess down and pulled Valenia into his arms, spinning her around as she laughed. When he set her down, he noticed the children watching with broad grins. Does this mean you'll officially be our papa? Finn asked if you'll have me. Marcus replied. We voted, Zora announced with typical teenage solemnity. It was unanimous. That evening, after the children were asleep, Marcus and Valenia walked through the colony's central plaza. Other residents had grown accustomed to the sight of the human man and his luminescent alien wife. Most greeted them warmly. Do you ever regret it? Valenia asked. Giving up your ship, your career? Marcus stopped walking and turned to face her. Valenia, I spent years exploring the galaxy looking for something meaningful. I found it in a distress call from a dying world. I found it in a mother's love for her children. I found it in you. She stepped closer, her skin glowing softly in the starlight. The children and I were discussing something today. We want to take your surname when we complete the citizenship process. The Stone family has a nice ring to it. And Marcus agreed. There's something else, Valenia said, her voice carrying a note of shy excitement. The colony's medical center has been researching human-Zarian compatibility. Dr. Hassan believes that with some genetic therapy, we might be able to... have children together. Marcus finished, his voice filled with wonder. Would you want that? Marcus pulled her close, marveling again at how perfectly she fit in his arms. I want everything with you, Valenia. A future, a family, a lifetime of love. As they kissed under the stars of their new world. Little did they know that their love story would become legend throughout the galaxy. The human captain who defied orders to save an alien family, and the alien mother who taught him that love truly was the universal language. Years later, when their own children played with Zora, Finn, and Kess in the same garden, Marcus would still remember that first desperate transmission. Help my children survive, human. I'll pay any price you ask. He'd asked for nothing and received everything. Love, family, purpose, and a future brighter than any star he'd ever explored. The greatest adventures he'd learned weren't found in the depths of space, but in the depths of the heart. The end.